An abstract reasoning assessment is one of 4 components for students that are looking to transfer into a New South Wales Selective High School in years 8 to 11. This is part of the High Ability Selection Test, or commonly referred as the HAST exam. It is an examination made by ACER and is notoriously more difficult component because of the format of questions that are especially not taught in schools. This video would not be necessarily relevant if you are not in high school or you are not planning to transfer into another selective school. But if you find yourself in this situation or you think this information might be of interest, you should definitely watch this video to the very end. Let's get into the format for some of these main types of questions that can appear in the HAST exam so you can better prepare for the abstract reasoning section. The abstract reasoning test is a multiple choice format with 4 options to choose from and is only 30 minutes in duration. It requires abstract reasoning and pattern deduction skills in order to recognize relationships and to perceive ideas. There is no specific subject taught in high school that would directly be aligned to this type of question, which is why many parents in particular seek tutoring for this section, alongside writing being the most common for HAST. Although if the student has a strong mathematical foundation, it will likely assist with abstract reasoning as they're able to identify patterns in a question more easily. There are several types of questions, such as a pattern that needs to be continued, completed, or diagrams that need to be reordered to identify the middle figure in a sequence. The diagrams may comprise of several elements, whether it's the size, shape, or shading orientation that needs to be taken into consideration when deciphering the pattern. If you are looking at being a doctor by doing the UCAT, which is another exam in Year 12 for students looking to study medicine, abstract reasoning will also be a component of that exam. So if you're going for the HAST exam, maybe that will help with the UCAT, but if you're not looking to transfer or you're not looking to become a doctor, then you don't need to worry about that at all. A big reason for why this exam is included, abstract reasoning instead of general ability or thinking skills, is because it does not have much English language in the questions. That is why students who have only been in Australia for a short amount of time or only for a few years can still have the potential to do well if they're not proficient in English. Considering 2 out of the examinations out of the 4 for the HAST exam is reading comprehension and writing, it is not a surprise that they had to balance it out with this abstract reasoning section to keep things a bit fair. I will be going through the main types of questions in the abstract reasoning test, but keep in mind that there are more question types beyond what I'll be covering. These are the main ones they include in the test, though you should really take into consideration and into account for your preparation. And of course, I would imagine if you have a tutor, work closely with them so you can practice for these types of questions. So the first one I would want to cover is complete the pattern. And for complete the pattern questions, there's a set process or framework of shapes. This can be in squares, triangles, or any other shape. Symbols are distributed around the framework according to a pattern. It does not always have to be a 3x3 square format to make a cube. It could be a triangle, etc., as well as in terms of a formation. Part of the pattern will be marked by a missing symbol, typically a question mark, and students have to choose from the options A, B, C, and D to find out what best completes the pattern logically. As you can see, there are 6 boxes. Each of the boxes have different shapes, whether it's a circle, square, or a triangle. It differs in terms of the quantity and has different colors. Whether you're looking at it from the left or looking at from the right, you will have to complete the pattern. Pause this screen and let me know down in the comments below what you think the answer to the complete the pattern question type is, and I'll let you know and you can kind of compare your answers with the other guys. In the next type of question, you will see a set of items, typically 5 objects or patterns that can be rearranged to form a logical sequence that you can find the pattern for. You can choose from A, B, C, D, or E in this instance to find the object or pattern that is in the middle. These are for the older students in particular, as there will be a number of students that will get these types of questions as well. You'll get an additional multiple choice bubble to choose from. As you're trying to find out what is in the middle, it has to have 5 options compared to 4 options for other questions, because you obviously need to have 5 options to find what is in the middle. An easy example can be seen here on the screen where there are people running. They are the same color and shape, where the only aspect which differs in this pattern is the quantity. So after rearranging it, you will know that the answer is D, which should be in the middle of this sequence. A more complex example, which will also be on the screen, will involve additional variables on top of this. This includes the positioning of the wavy shape, the oval within the wavy shape, and the entire image as well. Feel free to pause this screen and let me know in the comments below what you think the answer to the middle of the sequence question type is. In each of the items in next in sequence types of questions, there are 4 shapes forming a sequence going from left to right. You have to choose from the alternatives to the right, A, B, C, and D, to what will be next. For the example on the screen, it is quite simple as the dot rotates anti-clockwise and the cross alternates between the 2 positions, so the answer is D. Another pattern can be seen where the entire pattern is rotating 45 degrees anti-clockwise, which will also give D. This exemplifies one of the more common types of question formats, where there would definitely be a good number of next in sequence format questions in abstract reasoning. It also showcases the need for hypothesizing, a rule that the pattern follows, testing whether it's true, and if it is true, then selecting the right answer. A more complex example on the screen will also involve more variables as well as additional steps. We know that the light and dark shaded areas will play a role, as well as the shape of the entire figure. Feel free to pause this screen and let me know down in the comments below as well what you think the answer is to the next in sequence question type example is. In shape combination questions, they will combine at least 2 different shapes and add or subtract them from each other. The shapes can be rotated and does not have to be normal shapes that you are comfortable with. So rhombus, triangles, etc. You can view patterns and objects combined together. There will be a signal which will tell us whether it's addition or subtraction. A simple example is shown where a square minuses a little triangle at the corner, which results in B. This is arguably easier than the other types of question formats, because if you know whether it's adding or subtracting the shape, then that's literally half the answer for you already. A slightly more complex example is seen on the screen, which involves a building and a unique dark pattern. I wanted to show you this example because, like I said, it doesn't have to be a normal shape that you're comfortable with. It can be anything. Feel free to also pause this on your screen and let me know down in the comments below what you think the answer is for this shape combination example. Finally, in the odd one out abstract reasoning questions, students will see a shape that may be rotated or flipped. 4 shapes will be identical and there will be 1 that is different. Students have to spot the odd shape that is presented in a very limited time. Have a look at the one here on the screen where you can see 2 circles, one being light colored and one being dark colored. There is also the curve which will tell us which one is actually different. Remember that the shapes for these questions will be rotated like this, but for the one that you rotate in your mind that is different to others, that is the odd one out. A hint for the example here is that it is not E. Just because it has a curved line in the middle of the horizontal compared to the rest, when you first see it, when you rotate it upright and you compare them all, when they're all upright, it is identical to some of the others, so it's not the odd one out. But feel free to give this question a go. I've gone through 5 key question types that are typically seen in the abstract reasoning exam for HAST. These are not the only ones, but they are the main ones that I wanted to highlight and that I typically see students struggle with when they see these types of questions. If you are in year 7 to 8, you will likely see more of the more basic and easier question formats compared to year 9 and 10, which is progressively more difficult and complex. The examples on screen are from the junior years, which is a great aspect to work with in terms of the fundamentals, or if you're just new to these types of questions. So if you're in year 10 and you can answer the example questions quite easily that I showed, well, they are for year 7 and 8 questions. They are quite easy. So you definitely need to cover more complex questions in terms of your preparation. Familiarize and work with your tutor to know what tests to actually practice with and try out some practice tests. Just a disclaimer though, the practice tests from some of these Selective or HAST sites are definitely not up to date with the actual exam. How do we know this? We speak to our students who tell us that the tests are just not even similar to the test and their difficulty is not aligned when they've actually done the HAST test themselves. The fact of the matter is, a lot of these places create exams years ago, and even though the selective exam was created by an entirely different provider last year, they just say that it's entirely new. While parents and students are practicing and wasting time on these practice tests that are not practical and are kind of outdated, On my to-do task is to create practice books and material for the HAST exam in particular, but it's still a work in progress and still a lot to do in terms of making sure that it's at a decent enough quality for me to release it to you guys. As someone who's done the HAST test 3 times in year 8, 9, and 10, and then was successful in entering year 11, has helped several students try out for transferring into the selective exam, I think I'm in a pretty good position in terms of my knowledge and my experience to create some of these. But definitely let me know down in the comments if you guys would be interested in something like this. If you search up random abstract reasoning tests that are on Google and online, they could be for psychometric examinations for year 12 or even for job interviews. That is why in preparing for this exam, the difficulty in the question formats will not really be aligned with the HAST test. However, it can still help to a degree and can be another option if you don't have anything to actually practice with. Definitely speak to your tutor who will be able to provide you with some worksheets and some practice and some help in this particular subject area. If you know what your goal is and you can practice accordingly, it is a big reason why some of our students can perform so highly in these exams. I will share with you an example of a recent student who went for Helston Agricultural High School this year and absolutely smashed the exams. But remember, you have to do well in these exams, but also be good in terms of the supporting documentation side, including the reports, the NAPLAN results, and extracurricular, etc. So that should be on the screen here, but as you can see here, they're at the very top in both the maths and abstract reasoning, and they still did a very good job in terms of the reading and writing. I may also make another video going over quite a few different sample results so that students can compare it with their own results later down the line if this is of interest as well. To conclude, the abstract reasoning test in the HAST exam is tricky because students are not used to the wording of the questions and not exposed to many of these questions as it's not taught in school. There are 5 key question formats that I've already highlighted, being complete the pattern, odd one out, middle of the sequence, shape combinations, and next in sequence. I believe there are examples in each one video that I talked about as well that showcases each of these different question formats. And if you've done this exam before and have some preparation tips, make sure to write it down in the comments below. This channel is growing much faster than I could ever imagine. Something we're doing is correct, but as we've made over 50 videos, obviously I do need some ideas in terms of what you guys want to see next. Otherwise, I'll be doing what I think is kind of personally going to be useful for you guys. But if you have any cool video suggestions, let me know. I'm definitely going to be a lot more active in making these videos, but in terms of our priority, it always comes down to helping students when it's near test time, as a lot of these students are trying to get into HAST, prepare for the selective, go for the OC, or maybe prepare for their school report exams. So we have to assist in that, and that always takes priority over these videos. But in saying that, make sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.